I saw this thing on TikTok the other day. I'm curious to hear what you think. So basically this woman was talking and she was like, okay, so people always say that when you're in a relationship, whether that be with like a romantic relationship or with a friend or someone you know or someone you work with, whatever. A lot of people try to like use their, I guess, follow their heart or follow like their brain. She was like, your nervous system will like tell you everything you need to know about how you feel about a person before your brain even has time to catch up. Like, I guess like the example she gave was your body, like the sensations that it creates, the feelings that you feel will indicate to you how you feel about the person that you're interacting with. And I guess I don't really mean that so much as like if you're going in for a job interview and you're meeting someone for the first time and you're nervous and you're like anxious, that's normal. I think she means like someone that you know well. So let's say you've been dating a guy for a few months, like the butterfly stage is over. Like it's not like you just went on your first date. Like you've been dating for like 3 or 4 months and you're still feeling like crazy, like weird butterflies, but not in a good way when you're around him, or you're feeling uneasy, or you feel small or just like uncomfortable, like in your own skin. You don't feel confident. Like you want to like cover up like weird, like things, like gestures like that is like your body trying to signal to you that like maybe there's something wrong. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, 1000%. I mean, they've always said, I don't know who they is, but they've always said that the people have said that if you are truly like comfortable around someone, I mean, it could be romantically or platonically, but let's just say like you're hanging out with your boyfriend on the couch and like, you know, you're cuddling up on each other and you fall asleep. That just like shows that you feel safe with that person, and like your body is at rest, like it can relax and it's not in like a fight or flight mode where it's like, oh, like if you're sitting on the couch with a guy that, you know, makes you feel like shit about yourself, or you're in a toxic relationship, like you might be on edge that entire time and you might not even realize that you're on edge, but your body's on edge for sure.
Yes.
But I know I've definitely always been a believer that your nervous system, your body, and your mind they're all connected.
And it's crazy how sometimes your brain is the last to know. Yeah. Like even when you touch a hot object, like you're touching the hot object, it takes time for like your like
brain to be like, ow.
Yeah, because like the like whatever nerves. On your nerves have to go and like tell your brain what happened, and then your brain has to process it. Like it's so crazy.
Oh, you know how I had a lentil soup burn? I've showed you the picture, right? Yeah. I'm not kidding. If anyone wants to see it, DM me and I'll send it to you because it's pretty graphic, so I'm not going to post it. But I was sitting in a parking lot. I had picked up a hot thing of soup, lentil soup specifically, and I had just opened the lid to make sure like it was the right one, whatever. I don't know why I did that. I regret it looking back. But I opened it up and some of it spilled on my left hand, on the top of my hand. And I had sat there in the car for like a solid, and I know it doesn't sound like a lot, but it is when you're literally in the process of getting 2nd-degree burns, at least 15 seconds of me just sitting there because I was in complete shock. And the person I was with literally realized I was being quiet, looked over and ran outside the car, ran around, opened my door and like either splashed water on it or like wiped it off. And I was like, oh.
Like you couldn't
like it
even
hurt,
like
but like I couldn't,
what was happening.
Exactly.
It's so, yeah, that is very traumatic. But it is so interesting like how that works. And even like little things, I don't know, again, in the beginning stages, because I think a lot of us can apply this to romantic situations. I think that the first few months you're dating anyone, there is always going to be a level of like wanting to, you know, feel your best, maybe having some anxious butterflies, like how do they feel about me, whatever. I think that's super normal and that's okay. But I think that we've talked about this before, probably like years ago, but someone always says like butterflies aren't always a good thing. Mm-hmm. Like don't date the guy that, I mean, I think this is dramatic, but they're like, don't date the guy that gives you butterflies. I think that butterflies are not a bad thing, but if you still are getting butterflies from the person that you are dating and you've been with them for like 6 months, 7 months, 8 months, like not like a, you know, situationship, but you've been like full on boyfriend, girlfriend for 6 months or more.
At least.
And they like, you're with them and you feel like your heart feels like fluttery and you have butterflies. Like that is probably a red flag. There's exceptions to every rule, but like, I love my boyfriend like so much. I don't see him and get butterflies, not because I'm not excited to see him, but because I'm like so comfortable with him. My body like sees him and is like, oh, like we feel comfortable, we feel at home. Maybe like I get like slight butterflies at like, you know, the thought of like if he's texting me being like, I can't wait to see you tonight or like whatever.
Right.
But it's not like a constant like debilitating thing where, you know, when you first start dating someone and like you get a text from them and you're like so freaking out and like you're lovesick and you like can't eat and you
like
can't
the hot
sleep.
and the cold that we used to talk about, like when people are hot and cold like all the time, like, and how that's not normal. Like if someone's being hot and cold with you, that's a red flag and they're wasting your time, so get out. But I feel like that's also a time when, you know, if someone's hot and cold, like pay attention to how someone is making you feel, because odds are it's for a reason. Maybe their intentions aren't great or they're making you feel some type of way, and like you don't even really have a reason why, but you should still pay attention to it.
Yes, I think the reason why is super, super important too, because for example, if I'm at work, maybe I'm going to put some effort into making sure that like when I'm sitting down, like I feel like I'm sitting in a way that like my posture is decent and I'm like maybe like, you know, sucking in a little bit and making sure that my, you know, fly isn't undone and just little, you know, decent things because I'm at work, and that is okay. But when I'm in like hanging out with the girls on like a Friday night and I'm sitting there and I'm comfortable and relaxed and like, let's say like, you know, the stomach's hanging out a little bit of a crop top on like whatever, but I'm with my best friends, like there's that comfortableness versus like I can feel like when I've been in situations before with girls, either I don't know super well or girls that like deep in my core, I know like these aren't my people, but like maybe my brain didn't really fully know that, where you almost like feel like you want to like, you put like your arms over like yourself, you feel uncomfortable, you don't feel comfortable like not wearing makeup or not looking like your best self because you have this like all of a sudden this weird insecurity. Like I feel like sometimes it's hard to pinpoint, but I know that there's been people in my life that I thought I was friends with, but now looking back, I'm like, wow, like my body was like signaling to me that like there was like something off. Like for whatever reason, I didn't feel myself and didn't feel comfortable with these people. And ultimately, like they're not in my life anymore. So that was probably for like good reason.
I feel like it can also take time. Like if you're feeling, because I have struggled with acne my whole life and it took me a while to not wear makeup around you, but once I did it and I realized like, oh, like I'm not going to be judged, and I was like, oh,
right, and I don't even know if I noticed. Like I know eventually I was like, oh, Abby hasn't been wearing makeup around me, but it's not like when you first showed up I was ever like,
yeah. And that's how like friends should make you feel. Like you should be able to feel like you're not going to be judged, or they're not going to make you feel insecure or whatever
or
it
like
is.
Exploit your like insecurities.
Yeah.
I hate that. I feel like there's like some people where like you wouldn't feel comfortable either sharing things or like looking a certain way because you feel like people would use that.
Right. Use it against you.
No, 100%. It does take a while. I mean, it took me so long to be comfortable with not wearing makeup around Michael. Not so long, but like at least the first few months we were dating, I always wanted to like, I remember my biggest insecurity was like my eyebrows. Before I got them microbladed, they were so thin. I literally, if someone were to knock on my front door, I would draw on my eyebrows before I answered. Like I was that insecure in college. Yeah, it was like this weird. And it's funny because even now, like a year ago before I got them microbladed, I would walk around without anything on my eyebrows and I was fine. I think it was just like a college thing, like an insecurity. Yeah. I don't really know what it came from, probably from high school. But when I was with Michael, like I couldn't bear the thought of him thinking that I didn't have, that my eyebrows were like super thin. I thought it looked so bad.
Wait, that's the same insecurity as Alex Cooper. That's so
really
funny. Yeah. She was like, what does she call her? Not Mystery Man. What is she? Sexy Zoom Man.
Sexy Zoom
she was
Man.
Like, Sexy Zoom Man has never seen me without eyebrows on. Like
it's like a weird, I almost feel like when you're in this like mindset, your brain plays tricks on you of like, oh, he can't see you this way. I honestly don't think Michael would have noticed one way or another, but it was such an insecurity to the point where like one time I was like driving to his house, I like didn't have makeup on and I like pulled over to the side of the road and like just drew my eyebrows on just so I had those. And it's like he probably knew I was like he could tell that it was drawn on. Like if he wouldn't have cared if I took it off. It was just such a weird thing. But eventually you get comfortable. So I think if you don't feel that way, like if you're with someone and like you're doing the classic like wake up at 5 a.m. and putting makeup on and then getting back into bed and you've been with him for, 3 years.
3 years.
Like that's probably like a red flag.
I had to have an actual conversation with Mystery Man because it was getting to the point where I was sleeping over a lot, like basically almost every night. And there was a few months in the relationship where I didn't let him see me without makeup because I was so insecure. And I would be that girl that, I would shower at his apartment, but I would lock myself in the bathroom for 30 minutes after I was done. Like I'd be in the bathroom for an hour. I'd shower for however long and then put my makeup on, and I wouldn't let him come in the bathroom until my makeup was on because I didn't want him to see either acne or acne scars, whatever it was. And one day, like, he did come in and I snapped at him and I was like, oh, fuck. Like,
well, he's seen it. The jig is up.
Well, I was like, no, like, I shouldn't have snapped at him. Like,
right.
He just wants to go into his own bathroom. Like, why am I being so sketchy? And I ended up talking to him later that night and I explained to him why. Because I was like, like, I've had people in my past, like, throw my biggest insecurity, which is my acne, in my face. So it's like, I don't want to just show anyone. And so after that night, after we had that conversation, and I felt safe. Yeah.
Right. And I think that's the ultimate goal. Like, you want someone to feel like you want someone that makes you feel safe. And there are people that are going to throw your insecurities in your face. And then there's people that aren't. And I think you just need to like listen to your body, like trust yourself. And if someone ever makes you feel small, like, I understand sometimes it's hard for us to like mentally be aware of everything that's happening, but like just pay attention to it because it is important. Like, there are people I see that like, I feel like a knot in my stomach and I'm like, why do I feel like this around this person? Like, I've known them for years. Like, why do I feel awkward or uncomfortable or like I don't know how to talk to them? Like, I feel like I could talk to a wall. But then there are some people that I'm like, I don't know how to act around them and I feel so awkward. I don't know what to do with my hands. Like, why? Like, that's weird.
Yeah.